All right, welcome everybody to the Kentuckiana FileMaker Developers Group. This is February. Yeah, it's February, the February edition of the Kentuckiana FileMaker Developers Group. We meet the fourth Tuesday of every month right here on Zoom. If you're watching us on YouTube, please join us in person. We love the more the merrier. You're welcome to join us no matter whether you're just a beginner with FileMaker or a seasoned professional. It really doesn't matter. Uh, what your interest level is or your experience level is. We welcome everybody here at the Kentuckiana Group, and the more the merrier. Would love to see you. So for today, we are going to go ahead and turn it over to Mike Lynette, and I believe Chris Meyer is going to be helping him out. They're going to be presenting for us from Zerowait. So, Michael, it's all yours.
Well, thanks a lot for having me, and I really appreciate it. So Chris is running the show. I'm going to be talking through the introduction, and then it's going to get more and more technical through Chris and Ken's part of the presentation. A couple of weeks ago, I was sitting in my living room listening to the All In podcast, and I was like, Chamath Pel, I can't pronounce his name. Chamath, he's talking on the All In uh, podcast on it's episode 261 on the 14th of February about exploding AI workloads, bringing skyrocketing cloud bills, data sovereignty risks, unpredictable pricing, and driving companies to reclaim control, cost predictability, and performance through on-premise infrastructure. And that's what Zerowait has been doing on-premise infrastructure for decades. So about 5 years ago, many of our clients migrated some storage and compute to remote and cloud data centers due to a sudden change to remote working environments. Most of our customers have a 3 to 5 year upgrade cycle and some even longer. Our repangea, or moving back from colo and cloud to on-premise, started about 2 years ago and has accelerated with the need for local AI and price increases and more frequent outages with our customers' cloud providers. Old MacDonald had a server farm with a duck here, a switch there, and a piglet over there. And as the outages at the big and small cloud and colo providers increased last year, the intensity of the calls and emails we received asking us how quickly we could help folks move their data back from the cloud increased. Each reported outage with AWS, Google Cloud, Azure, and then Cloudflare increased the number of quotes for migration hardware support we received. Surprisingly, the cloud outages have caused our engineering customers to point out that their managers did not seem to understand that when you outsource your data and security, you may end up with some problems with data security and the costs of remote applications and storage. Our customers tell us that insourcing their data and compute has a 6-month to 9-month ROI over cloud costs. Your mileage will vary. By the end of last year, we were sending out proposals to help our customers migrate from VMware to Proxmox regularly. Our simple converged solutions are in the right place at the right time for customers that need to bring their data home from the cloud providers that have unpredictable pricing, fees, security, and quality of service. After we successfully helped a customer move their environment back from the hinterlands, an old engineering customer told us how their manager took credit the successful data migration and cost savings. Bosses like cost savings. Engineers like the ability to work on equipment that is safe, secure, and local. The finance and risk folks like the ROI and benefits of rapid depreciation of hardware. And now we're going to begin a short presentation followed by an Ask Ken Anything session on Proxmox systems, security costs, and migrations. By the way, this is Brian Ginn's logo I created, the Ginn helicopter.
Oh, that's fun.
Yeah, I do things for you, Brian.
You do. Thank you.
as I said earlier, we've been using FileMaker since 2004. As our business grew, we recognized that we needed a completely relational ERP system for inventory purchasing, engineering tickets, projects, manufacturing, shipping, quoting, service policies, bills of materials, and CRM for customers and prospects. Of course, we keep all notes and records on incoming orders, quotes, historical email, and documents, and so we needed a high-performance FileMaker server and remote mirroring. That is when our engineers began tinkering. Our FileMaker solution has grown as our business has grown. We have about 3.5 million records. Chris, you're on the wrong slide. We have about 3.5 million records in about 800 tables and with about 5,300 fields linked by 421 relationships, 16.5 gigs of direct FileMaker database files. We have over 87,000 external stored container files, about 37 gig managed by 1,769 scripts and 1,696 layouts. Since we keep everything related to system logs, emails, attachments, contracts, etc., we have a lot of storage in our associated documents. We believe in security, and we remote replicate our data between our data centers. I started writing MRP programs in PIC in 1982. That's when I was talking to David Simpson about PIC because my customer in Nebraska has PIC. I then wrote DBase 3 and 4 and FoxPro MRP systems for companies till 1989. In 1989, I started my own business writing MRP systems. Chris, you're on the wrong slide again.
You're jumping around. There you go. Good.
As the internet became prominent, my customers wanted me to solve their networking and connectivity issues. We got involved in load balancing storage in the late 1990s, and during the financial panic of 2008, 3 of our customers asked us to build them a storage solution, which became the SimplStor project. In the summer of 2025, I met the folks at the Dallas FM Hub group meeting and started talking to them about our SimplStor PE, which we developed for our FileMaker server requirements because we could not find an enterprise-level FileMaker solution that would work as an enterprise VM host in our infrastructure. Over lunch after the meeting, we discussed the hardware, solutions, and Proxmox, and they asked me a bunch of questions, and I was surprised to learn that our hardware design and engineering was not part of many FileMaker developers' tool sets. In our engineering and enterprise storage server business, we mostly worked with IT managers and engineers. Zerowait is known for outstanding customer service and support, and recently we were speaking to a NASCAR team we've been working with for over 20 years about their migration from Nutanix and VMware to our simple converged solution of SimplStor and Proxmox. Our friend Steve had a concept for a turnkey SimplStor FileMaker solution he refers to as just add water. He would like us to build our SimplStor solutions for his solution with standard templates for the OVAs that his customers typically require for their on-premises FileMaker and AI requirements. Since the folks at FileMaker don't have a full definition of what an enterprise FileMaker server should be hosted on, our engineers have built a set of hardware and Proxmox solutions that fill the market niche. At this point, Chris is going to take over the presentation. It's going to get progressively more technical, and then we will have our Ask Ken Anything on 8 topics that are tightly connected to the enterprise FileMaker environment. So, Chris, please take it away.
I actually already had it, but so, excuse me, this is how we start a project at Zerowait. A ticket is created via our ticketing system. We open an engineering ticket. We review the infrastructure requirements. We design a SimplStor X14 using our blueprint quoting system. We quote the SimplStor, and then we build the SimplStor X14. We test and validate all the components, and then we configure it to the specific client's needs. So there's a lot of questions, like, are there really just 2 types of people in the world? Maybe some of us hold a few different titles, like biker, martial arts instructor, rescue training instructor, dog dad, human dad, and yes, I put dog dad before human dad. if you knew my kids. Anyway, I've been in IT since the late 90s. Spent a few years at Dell Plus focusing on server customization. Spent 6 years at NetApp as a systems engineer. 4.5 at EMC as a regional pre-sales resource, and then a member of the global competitive group. A few years working for startups, and then I've been in Zerowait since about 2013. So why did we build a FileMaker Performance server? I'm so happy you asked. So we couldn't find a commercially available turnkey solution. So as a company of storage and networking engineers, we just decided to build it ourselves. So to better understand where we are today, first we need to cover a bit of history. In the beginning, we're a mix of X8 and X9 VM hosts. So the X8 and X9 are basically the versioning for the Supermicro motherboards. We replaced the X8 hosts over time, arriving at our current environment. We moved to the X14. It was driven by us adding new features to FileMaker Server. We added automatic ticket creation for level 1 events. We imported an exception reporter that was built from an external app. We added automated fault detection and reporting. All of our client logs are processed in FileMaker, and a simple report is sent out to the clients. We have a quoting tool with the ability to create predefined templates for supported builds, and all of our email marketing and tracking is housed within FileMaker as well. All of our data is safe, secure, and local. It is not in the cloud. It is all local to our environment. So this very busy flow chart kind of outlines our data handling within FileMaker. So from auto support emails to the rule editor, ticket management to client emails, it's really a high-level overview of our process flow within FileMaker. So Steve, our FileMaker developer, he does a lot of stuff with our performance data. So we've got timers that log the duration of our scripts. Reading through some of the weekly logs that we processed took somewhere between 5 and 9 minutes per log. So that's a little bit of time, and we get hundreds of these per week. After moving to the X14, we saw the same logs were now taking just under 2 to 3 minutes. We did nothing to that system other than do a vMotion. We migrated and moved the VM from the older X9 platform to the X14. That's all we did. We didn't increase any of the resources at all, and we saw a 3x improvement in our processing speed. We thought that was great. So our clients face a few challenges when looking at infrastructure. One is cost. So VMware in their, Broadcom in their, infinite wisdom decided that they needed to take away perpetual licensing. They needed to add in 72 core minimums for a lot of products and massively increase renewal pricing, which really kind of made them price prohibitive. Another, security. Cloud has had a few challenges lately. I know it's hard to believe, but CrowdStrike in July 24, Google Cloud June 25, AWS in October, Microsoft Azure in October, Cloudflare in November, and we just keep going and going and going. Our experience adding the X14 to our environment led us to believe that developers and clients could also benefit from its flexibility and versatility. Since our focus has always been to provide safe, secure, and local solutions to our clients, we began looking in different directions. One of our developers that's actually on today, Ken Irwin, suggested that we should take a look at Proxmox. Since it's a fully open source and it's free to download and install, there's also an option for paid enterprise support. Proxmox is unique in that it has native ZFS support. We'll cover a little bit more on that in a bit. So we decided to take a closer look. Now, what did we find out? I love the questions coming in. Fantastic. Thank you for asking. So Proxmox is a type 1 hypervisor, just like VMware, meaning that it installs directly on your computer's hardware, not on top of another system like Windows or Mac OS. So it allows you to manage your hardware resources more directly and efficiently. Excuse me, it supports both virtual machines as well as containers, unlike VMware that only supports virtual machines. With the latest version 9.1, Proxmox also supports it's easy for me to say, encapsulated Docker containers, and all of this functionality is deployable from a common web GUI. Proxmox allows you to dynamically allocate resources like CPU, power, memory, and disk space, and even GPUs, enable you to set limits and priorities to ensure that your applications run smoothly. Additionally, the native ZFS support from Proxmox brings in features such as copy on write snapshots and clones, just to name a few. So, what is ZFS and why do you care? ZFS is an open source advanced file system and a logical volume manager originally developed by Sun Microsystems. So instead of managing individual drives, ZFS creates a pool from all of your drives, and it acts as a single large storage space. When you change a file, ZFS doesn't overwrite the original data. So it writes a new data to a new location and then updates the pointers to the new data. What this means is your data is never corrupted by power failure or crash during a write operation. Something goes wrong, system can revert to the last known good state. ZFS constantly checks the integrity of your data using checksums, and if it finds a corrupted block on a drive, it can self-heal. This is done from redundant information of the other drives in the pool. This is a significant advantage over traditional RAID, which might just duplicate the corrupted data. Snapshots are instant self-healing, they're instant space-efficient point-in-time copies of your data, and it allows you to easily roll back to a previous state if you accidentally delete a file or mess up a config. Snapshots are also read-only, so they are not susceptible to ransomware attacks. ZFS is also very efficient when it comes to replication for backups and disaster recovery. One of the most noteworthy attributes of ZFS integration with Proxmox is that regardless of the operating system, any VM stored on a ZFS pool can benefit from those snapshots. Windows, Linux, Ubuntu, it doesn't matter. It can be NTFS, ext4, it just doesn't matter. They all can benefit from ZFS and that snapshot capability. As we mentioned earlier, we've been working with FileMaker developer friends on a just add water build, and this is a little example of what it might look like. Here we have 6 virtual machines running on the SimplStor X14. We have a FileMaker server, a server running RDP or RDAC, a LAMP server, an AI RAG server, a system for AI training, and a FileMaker worker node. Running several systems on Proxmox provides a number of benefits. Lower hardware costs and better utilization and efficiency, operational management, flexibility, scalability, high availability, a lot of abilities there. The bottom line is that just add water build can reduce server count by 60 to 80%. You can reduce power, cooling, and admin time for anywhere between 50 and 70%. This allows you to provision resources in minutes, not just weeks. And it protects your data using HADR and live migrations. So next, we're going to do a demo of one of the capabilities of Proxmox and ZFS. So here we have the administrative console for Proxmox, along with 2 VMs. A FileMaker server running on Windows 2022 and FileMaker Pro running on Windows 11. So the GUI is clean, straightforward, easy to use. And since everything's laid out logically, it makes navigation really simple. Now, let me show you how easy it is to create a ZFS pool in which to store your VMs. So here you simply select the server, then go under Disks to ZFS, click Create ZFS, give the pool a name, and I'm really original, so I'm just going to call it Test. For demo purposes, we're just going to create a 2-disk RAID 1. You select a couple of available drives and then click the Create button. It's just as simple as that. Now, it's just as simple to delete a ZFS pool. Let me show you how that works. So here we're going to go to the server. Since we're already in the ZFS section of disk, we're going to select the pool you want to remove. Click More, then Destroy. As a safety precaution, you're going to enter the ID to confirm the removal. Click the Remove button, and it's done. Simple as that. Now, before I show you all how this is going to enrich the lives of all those here in person, remote, and the millions of people watching later on YouTube, let's start with a little restore. Since we're an infrastructure company, we tend to do a lot of testing. And during testing, we often blow up a lot of stuff looking for better ways to do things. Most of the time, it's me blowing stuff up. So doing a full restore of all of our FileMaker databases would create quite a bit, or takes quite a bit of time. And if we missed a step, we often had to run verifies on the databases. So we created a tool that would make it so that we didn't forget any steps. This is what you're going to see as we do a full restore from a previous backup. So we're going to go back to our FileMaker server. We're going to open up our F&P Tools app. As soon as the mouse starts moving, there we go. It's set up so that it displays the server name, helps validate the system we're about to perform a restore. It's also site aware, so that if we're in our DR facility, it uses the replicant backups. So here we're going to say, yes, we really want to do this. We're going to choose one of the backups. We're going to do test FMS. So here, all of the databases are closed and removed. And then the databases from the backup location are copied over to the FileMaker server. We compress the time on the copy because nobody likes watching paint dry. And I don't tab dance, so, but we're almost there. There we go. So once the copy's finished, the databases are opened. The tool verifies the number of databases are the same as the numbers that exist on the server. And the timer is going to pop up and show us the total time for the restore. Survey says 4 minutes and 1 second. So now we can see on the admin console that all 13 of our databases are open and available. So now we're going to show you one of the benefits of ZFS snapshots. So we're going to go over to the Proxmox console. We're going to select the server, go down to snapshots. We're going to make sure, we're going to click take a snapshot. And we're going to make sure that the include RAM checkbox is checked. The reason we do that is to allow us to copy the system state at the moment that you're creating the snapshot. It takes a little bit of time to copy the RAM for the system state, but it allows us to bring it back to that state after rollback. So here we've compressed the time again. Overall, it takes about 5 minutes to copy the RAM plus a near instant snapshot from ZFS. And we're done. So now that we've got a good snapshot, we're going to go medieval. We're going to create some havoc and delete some FileMaker databases. So here we're going to go to the admin console. We're going to just close all of our FileMaker databases. And we're closing, there we go. Now we're going to go to the directory structure in Windows. And you guys all know the path: program files, FileMaker, FileMaker server, data, databases. And we're just going to whack all of them. And just to make sure that they're all gone, we're going to go ahead and delete and empty this recycle bin. So if we look back at the admin console, there's no databases. Somebody's not having a good day. But wait, we have a snapshot. So here we're going to go back to the Proxmox console, to our snapshot section. We're going to select the snapshot that we want to roll back, click the rollback button. We're going to confirm we really want to do it. And the rollback begins. We've compressed the time again. Total time for the rollback is just under 3 minutes. All right, now let's see what we've got. We're going to go check our FileMaker server, and since we saved the system state with the RAM option, the server's online and all the databases are mounted and open. Now we're going to verify that. We're going to go to a client and open up one of our apps, and it pops right up. And then we can go back to our admin console and see that, yes, we've got one total connection that is on the server. So this is just one of the features that Proxmox is able to provide for any operating system. The X14 is a flexible enterprise solution that doesn't break the bank. It supports up to 256 cores or higher for E-cores per node, provides up to 50% performance uplift and compute intensive tasks, and it's optimized for the latest NVIDIA and AMD and Intel GPUs. It's running PCIe 5 on the back end, which is double the bandwidth of PCIe 4 and up to 400 gigabit networking options. The X14 reduces the hosting cost for scaling FileMaker and enables on-prem scaling without having to refresh hardware. This is a blueprint tool within FileMaker. It integrates with our inventory system and pulls cost and client information to create our quotes. And now, here are a few things that our clients are concerned about. Everything from AI to virtualization, security, service and support, and costs. So with AI, Zerowait can help avoid cloud volatility, hidden fees, eliminate performance bottlenecks, able to secure high performance on-premise and AI processing, reduces costs, extends infrastructure lifespan, and accelerates data-intensive tasks. For virtualization, well, everybody tells us the cloud's fine, and the cloud's great. It doesn't have any issues. Okay, maybe I fudge a little bit. So we keep seeing this day after day. So everything from Microsoft hiding key data flow information in plain text, Wired magazine is getting on the bandwagon, AI outages. We have issues with cloud. Zerowait also helps with the service support by hardware obsolescence and end of service, being able to stretch out that time, help combat hardware reliability and failures, networking integration issues, and we'll support the gaps and help minimize high vendor costs. We've also got a few white papers on our website that have popped up on the right screen. You'd be able to see it. Stand by. Love it when things work. There we go. So there's a comparison of costs, VMware versus Proxmox. You can find that on our site, Zerowait. And then you never want to gamble with your data. So what we've done is we've created a cost-effective modular product offering. So there's 3 basic stepping stones for the systems. So from the foundation to the professional to enterprise, it is a nice stair-stepped way to get into the Energized platform and not break the bank. And how do you break free from the chains of VMware and Nutanix? That's a great question. Well, Zerowait's the answer. So things where Proxmox is considered superior to VMware, well, cost. I mean, that's an easy one. No vendor lock-in, open source, native support for VM and Lightweight containers, built-in advanced storage options, as well as better performance in certain workloads. Nutanix, the benefits are fairly similar. Cost and licensing, no vendor lock-in, hardware flexibility and compatibility, and built-in containers. And so Ken's going to pop in and do a little bit of a demo and answer any questions that may pop up to kind of summarize how to energize your FileMaker performance environment. So SimplStor, built both on NVMe and regular disk, it's designed to supercharge your FileMaker server and AI applications. Our enterprise clients prefer Windows and Linux for enterprise class servers. Our solution with Proxmox and failover provides ZFS, immutable storage, customization, as well as scalable and predictable solutions. And Ken.
We have 8 questions, or 7 questions that people typically ask if you don't have questions to start and you want us to start.
So you see my screen?
There's Ken. Hang on, let me stop sharing for a moment. Make it easier.
Do you have any questions out there, or do you want us to give you some examples of what we deal with on a regular basis?
I'm not hearing anybody speaking up with any questions. I gotta admit, it's all pretty much over my head. I think Mike said it best when he started. He mentioned something about FileMaker developers aren't real big on hardware. So
Yeah, well, let me just before Ken gets started. So those three models that Ken was showing is most of the companies we deal with are enterprise companies. I mean, like right now, literally this last week, we got a request uh, from an aerospace company that wants to greenfield build two facilities, one in Canada, one in Texas. They want to build DoD compliant, NIST compliant, all the audit and stuff like that. So real servers, real replication. Canadian data can't be in the US, US data can't be in Canada, that whole kind of stuff. So uh, true networking, storage, and security. But one of the things, so the first thing is, Ken, I want you to explain the concept of OS as an app and cloud in the box.
Sure. So, let me kind of start out by I started dealing with VMware when they were kind of really a new company, and their guys came in um, and their concept at the time was moving systems, small systems into a virtualized environment, okay, to reduce the footprint on the data center floor. And my immediate response was, so let me get this straight. You're offering a system, okay, that allows machines to be able to be moved around between machines, um, and you're only going after the low-hanging fruit. Why would you do that? Why would you offer this high availability system, okay, only to these small environments? And they didn't really have a good answer to that, okay, but they kind of changed their tune kind of as time went on. Um, Now in kind of Fortune 500 companies, pretty much everything is virtualized. And and it gets to the point, okay, especially when you start talking about cloud providers and virtualization and containers and all of this stuff, okay, that the OS becomes just a wrapper around an application. It becomes something that it becomes kind of irrelevant, okay, what the OS is. The end of the day, okay, what you have is um, what you care about is the application, what that application can do, and and you want that application to not be contingent on competing with any other resources within a machine. So you basically limit that application to the simplest possible operating system and the operating system that best performs for that application. And then you containerize it or virtualize it in an environment, okay, where it just becomes basically, you know, this bag of application, okay, that you can just kind of pass around between machines. Um, we've taken that to the point where we're doing that with pretty much everything. We do that with storage. We do that with the machines. We do that with all the resources that are kind of involved in this. So if you look at this environment that we have here, all of these 5,000 these are containers. Okay, all these 5,000s are containers. These are storage containers. So these are using ZFS on the back end to create a container wrapper around our storage infrastructure. So this storage infrastructure can then be passed around between these three storage nodes here. So any of these storage nodes can then host these ZFS shares, okay, that are all within these environments. Then down here we have four more machines that are basically just computes. All of these computes then look at this storage environment as network storage, so that these machines all have continuous access to storage at all times. among these 4 nodes. So if I take, say, this machine here, and I can do a migrate on this. And this is all live. Okay, so this machine is currently up and running. And I can migrate this machine over to another node. Now it'll migrate over to the 020 node. It's done. You'll see it'll pop up here in a minute. And there it is. It's now running on this node. So now it's running on a completely different node. Now you see it went gray, and it's going to go back here because has a affinity or basically a gravity set that if this node, this 010 node is available, it'll always return home. So this machine has never stopped running through this whole process. It's been migrated from the 10 node to the 20 node and back again, all completely running, completely available. And it's getting its storage. So that time that it takes to do this is the replication of the memory, not the replication of the disk. The disk never gets replicated because the disk is always available everywhere. So that time that you saw is the replication of its storage. And if we kind of look at the resources for this, we can see that what it actually replicated was 2 gig of RAM. Now, back up to the storage. If we look at the storage, and all of these storage have different replication environments, so different replication agreements within this cluster. So like that particular one was in this LXCs, which is and within the Linux containers, we have replication agreement between NAS A and NAS B. So this storage container gets replicated between all 3 nodes here. Some of these, like app ISOs, only gets this is application ISO images, and these only get replicated. This only gets replicated to one other, so that it basically gets it's more efficient storage usage by doing it that way. Most of these only replicate to one other environment, but mission critical ones get replicated to all environments.
Ken, can you talk a bit about immutability?
So as these get replicated, they also replicate any snapshots that happen. So how this, when you heard Chris talk about the snapshots. So snapshots come into play when this replication happens, it takes a snapshot and then replicates the delta change to another environment. You can also set up snapshots, okay, here so that you can take a snapshot at any given time. And it'll just take the snapshot, and the snapshot's instantaneous. This is different. Snapshot that involves a memory model for a virtual machine. So you saw it was absolutely instant. That's because it doesn't need to replicate the memory model because the memory model is consistent across this machine. In a container, you don't have virtualized memory. The memory is shared among all of the virtualization that happens within this node of this in this cluster. So snapshots at this level are absolutely instant. They just all it does is it goes out to the storage, it sets a delta change or a marker in the storage and says anything that happens beyond this point is a change to the previous. This is kind of one of the advantages of containers, okay? And containers is and whether the containers are LXC containers or Docker containers is irrelevant in the latest versions of Proxmox. In the latest versions of Proxmox, we can take a Docker image, create a container from that Docker image, and what it'll do is it'll encapsulate it into an LXC container. Again, all of this is there's no hypervisor involved. There's no there's no overhead. There's no simulating a CPU. There's no simulating BIOS. All of it is basically it's a jail within the environment. It's setting a new root directory, okay, within that that environment. But you can't go higher than that. Okay, it's very similar if you understand at all how FTP anonymous FTP works. This is basically the same thing that anonymous FTP has been doing for decades.
Ken? Well, so earlier, Chris and I alluded to our customer in Dallas who wants templates, essentially, is just add water. Can you show them the templates that are already part of it? So if you want to have an AI template or a LAMP template, it's all part of Proxmox already. Just click a button and there they are.
So if I go one of these compute nodes and I say create CT or create a cluster, and I'll just create a temp machine. Give it a password. And these are preloaded templates. So all of these kind of back to the whole thing of the operating system as a wrapper. All of these, see all these ones that say turnkey? All these turnkey ones are specific machines that do one thing. And the operating system is just a wrapper around that application. So Ghost is a PostScript for printers. You have in here let's see, let's get down to LAMP stack. So you have a LAMP stack here, LAMP stack here, various different kinds. Like this one is a lightweight HTTP PHP fast CGI. So basically a minimized efficient LAMP stack, and all this stuff, okay, is all preloaded on your from us would be preloaded on your Proxmox instance. There's also open source domain controllers, LDAP controllers, all kinds of other things. You can see there's tons of them, absolutely tons of them. So then, so let's get into, we kind of touched on it already, but affinity. So affinity, if we go up to data center and we go to our HA and look at our affinity rules. And remember when we moved that CT 103 from one node to another, from 010 to 020. If we look at this, this sets that affinity, the priority of the affinity, higher the number, the more gravity it has to that node. This machine will always gravitate to 010 if 010 is there. If 010 is not there, it'll gravitate to 020, if not to 030, and if not 040. So that's the pecking order of where that machine will get hosted. And the same is true for we go into the 5000 series stuff, and this is our storage containers. So storage containers have the same kind of thing where they're gravitate to one node or another.
With that, do you have any more? Has anyone got any questions on what Ken's going over? As I said, it's going to get pretty technical. What you're seeing here is basically, as again, our customers and our business is exploding with people coming back and from the cloud right now. But what's happened? But because of Proxmox and the VMware costs, Proxmox, and the new processors and memory availability, you can now run your systems locally. You have immutable storage. We were talking with Brian before about the malbots that are coming out. Well, if you have immutability, replication, then your data can be secure. And our enterprise customers, they need a way of moving data back and forth between systems in their racks. And Proxmox is the solution, is the next gen solution. So that's why to the FileMaker groups, I mean, most of you are running with much smaller systems, but your customers are working in enterprises, and they will need to be moving from VMware to Proxmox as they go re-Pangea. And so that's why we're presenting this to you, because it's an obvious solution that you can present where your FileMaker will get the immutability it needs.
Or cloud to Proxmox.
So in other words, when this comes up, we know who to call.
But you know, we hope you'll call us, but this stuff's out there. We figured it out because we had to for our own data. Our data is has to be secure. Our customers can't have it on the cloud, period.
Yeah.
So we always have everything in house, and most of our customers have to have their data in house. So proprietary data sovereignty, those issues always come up. The gravity issues and how systems go back and forth, that's really cool feature sets, and the way you can run Dockers natively, that's pretty cool stuff.
Jonathan Fletcher had a question in chat. What size company is the ideal target for this approach?
Yes.
The ideal company is one that's profitable. But we have customers that are 10 people. We have customers which are 250,000 customers. I have 250,000 employees. We have global customers, and we have, everywhere. But pretty much, if you have a lot of data, remember, most of our business for 20 years was NetApp related. They had petabytes of data. And so when those when they had VMware and like we have a customer in Nebraska, VMware went from about 120,000 a year to 1.4 million a year. That made them upset, and so they're a big company, but still the Broadcom has made decisions that are driving people to change from VMware to Proxmox, and when they do that, they're usually going to upgrade their hardware at the same time, and it benefits the FileMaker users that have on-prem data because we can include all the ZFS features that protect data, encrypt data, make it immutable, replicate remotely. Everything's pretty simple once you have a Proxmox solution set.
And the other thing to remember, if I can add on, Mike, is that we've got a stair-step product line. So you don't have to get in and get this big, gigantic machine that's going to cost you $500,000. Now we'll sell you one, but if you just got a small shop, we have single, 1U boxes that come in, with a single, 24 core processor, and we can make adjustments to that. The one thing about Zerowait is that we really strive to give our clients what they want, what they need. So we have a base platform that you can add, you can subtract a little bit if you need to.
I understand we've been doing this for a really long time. Myself, my first job as a sophomore in high school was working for a bank service bureau, basically the old name of cloud. That was January 1st, 1980 is when I started there. After that, I worked for Bell Laboratories, and Bell Laboratories was doing virtualization in the mid 80s. So they were doing Unix virtualization in the mid 80s. I was doing destructive testing for them also around that same time period for telephone switching labs, where the objective was to be able to create a telephone switching test labs that you could go in, and every testing group could go in, run a program that would reset the environment back to a known state at every session, that they did testing. So when that session was over, they'd run the program, and then it would be the entire environment would be reset back to the state it was when they entered the lab. And this happened, roughly 4 or 5 times a day. And this is the kind of thing that this environment gives you. Not only does it benefit you from a resilience standpoint, from a high availability standpoint, from a recoverability standpoint, business continuity, all of that. That's great. But it also allows you to basically, from a developer standpoint, be able to create an environment where you can create these OS wrappers around your application for doing testing, that when your testing is over, you can reset them back to where they were before you started testing, or throw them away completely.
Well, where that's important is, the snowstorm came to the Northeast. Actually, you guys have it too. So what I texted Scott and Chris on Friday night, hey, it looks like a snowstorm's going to hit, and let's do some extra snapshot backup replicants snapshots to Texas. And the reason to do that is, we have a generator, we have everything in our data center in Delaware, but we've had a truck hit the pole and take down both Comcast and Verizon on us. So in cases like that, we can bring our snapshot back and our guys are just running from Texas pretty easily. That's the replicant and the immutability that's so important to us, because we can continue to run no matter which location we're running from.
A lot of environments will have, many levels of this, dev environments, test environments, staging environments, QA, and, pre-production and production. In this type of environment, because you have this ability to be able to do this, it's very easy to promote through the ranks. So that you can take stuff that you've tested in your QA environment and evolve that into your production environment while still having the next generation of a QA environment and the next generation of a staging environment, all snapshotted back behind it. And also you have the ability to be able to clone in this too. So if you want to not just do your Delta change snapshots, but actually create a completely independent clone, maybe on a completely separate cluster, that's also very easy to do. Another thing that's very easy to do is taking existing VMware environments and bring this into this. So if I take and say I want to create a VM, and we'll say we'll just call this a VM, and then we come in here and we say here, don't use any media because we're not installing this from scratch. We're going to take this from another existing environment. So we go through here, we look at our disks, and I'm not right. It is from. Oh no, I want to do that from here. Sorry. And then from our disk, we'll go import. We don't care about the original disk. We only care about the import. We want to go to VMs. We select image. Okay, we can select this is a say this one is a Ansible. Okay, that has been imported in. So we can go to this. This is a VMware. This is a machine that was created in VMware. Also, store this on that same storage array. Go through. We'll give it 2 cores. Give it 2 RAM. And there it is. Sorry, still doing it. So we'll lock on. As soon as the lock goes away, then we can just start up.
Dean had a question in chat. That I believe there are dedicated specialized FileMaker cloud hosts. Are there any of them that are using Zerowait? So are you guys working with any companies that are providing like FileMaker cloud hosting with this as a infrastructure?
No.
No, and I think most of those are done on AWS actually.
funny how when we run things real time, sometimes they don't always go as fast as you expect.
They may have been over anxious there with trying to start it up. Confused it. Anyway, is there any other questions you have? We have like, I know it's a lot to take in.
Anyone? Any other questions?
I have one.
Oh, you're muted, Jonathan.
I'm sorry, I hit it twice. So is there, do you have any, and did you cover it? Maybe I missed it where you talk about, because FileMaker server is notorious if you got a lot of data for taking a really long time to run backups, and it'll take down the files while it's doing that. So like if you've got a 24/7 operation, running a backup creates a hole in your schedule. Would this be a good solution for that?
Yeah, absolutely. One of the things that because you have the snapshot ability, you can take the snapshot. Snapshot is instantaneous, or nearly instantaneous. Okay, even if you're doing it as a container, it's instantaneous. If you're doing it as a virtual machine, you can copy the state information as well, as Chris showed in his part of the demo. And then once that happens, then you can deal with that that storage any way that you want, and it doesn't affect the running machine. The running machine is now independent of that storage.
Okay.
Chris, you want to touch on that? How we do our backup so quickly?
Yeah, so I mean the backups can take a little bit of time. We haven't had the issue. We can there's a backup team within FileMaker that we can run a hot backup. So we can run the backup. So what we do is we do backups every night. We do a standard backup at midnight. And then I've got scripts that actually move that off to another location, and that particular location gets replicated every night down to our DR facility. So we always have the previous night's backup every morning. So to Ken's point, if you've got a 24/7, if you pop a snapshot, then you've got that. And then if you need to copy that somewhere else, so you could, mount that from someplace else, just depending on how you want to architect things. But you could mount that, copy that data out to another location, and then replicate that however you see fit. So there's a lot of options that are available.
So does the restore happen quickly too? If you want to just blow away what you got and replace it with last night's snapshot, is that pretty quick too?
Yes.
That's what I showed you just a minute ago. So
Yeah,
the
but
rollback
like for massive amounts of data, do you
doesn't
have bandwidth bottlenecks?
Nope. No, it doesn't matter. It's on the system. That rollback, that 3 minutes is just everything resetting back and the RAM copy. The
Okay.
snapshots from ZFS are near instantaneous. So the amount of time that it took to do the initial copy, so that RAM box was checked, that include RAM, and what that does is it copies the system state. So what we did in the demo, we copied the system state. That took about 5 minutes. And then we had a near instant backup or snapshot with ZFS. And then when we did the rollback, what we're doing is we're rolling back. We're taking that system state, we're rolling that back. That took about 3 minutes. And then the restore from ZFS, it was like I said, near instantaneous. So it doesn't matter how much capacity you have. You could have, 30 gigs, you could have 30 terabytes, it doesn't matter. Because all you're doing is you're updating pointers within the file system.
Oh, okay. So do you have
So
to have do you have to have a ton of RAM to be able to do that?
actually, no, you don't. It's
Okay.
amazingly simplistic. It's the amount of RAM that you have really depends upon the applications that you're running.
Okay.
The snapshots are intrinsic to the file system. So it is, like I said, it's near instantaneous. So it's for lack of a better term, it's a pretty slick way to do things.
And what Ken was talking about running it in a Docker gives you even some other application advantages. But it depends on how you're set up and what you're doing now.
At the end of the day, a Docker container versus a Linux container, they're pretty much two ways of doing the same thing. And what Proxmox does is it just encapsulates the Docker container within a Linux container, so it has less different types of things to deal with. But they're all really the same. At the end of the day, technology isn't revolutionary. Technology is evolutionary. Everything is built on top of something else. And Docker containers are no different, okay, than regular containers. And regular containers are actually based on have their roots kind of in Solaris zones, which have been around since, I don't know, maybe almost 20 years now.
Like you've got your VM running now.
I have the VM running now. So it just had to release the lock, and because I was kind of mucking around with it, okay, it had to wait for multiple locks to time out. But here is a VMware VM, okay, running in Proxmox.
And we're actually talking to a couple customers now about how to do a VMware to Proxmox migration, and what we're showing you now is very important because they can actually do the tests before they do the real switchover. Well, is there anything else? You survived our presentation, Ron.
Yeah. I feel like a deer caught in the headlights mostly, but
This is what we deal with every day.
yeah.
Some deer are bigger than others.
Yeah. Well,
Some headlights are bigger.
Thanks for giving us the opportunity to present to you. And if you have any questions, give us a ring, give us a call, send us an email. We'll show you how it's done.
Yeah. I think the presentation went very well. It seemed smooth. It seemed like it went very well for anybody who could actually understand it. Sorry, I'm just not the guy to understand it, but I think for those who do understand it and are interested in how this all is put together, I think the presentation was well presented. So it'll be up and available on YouTube. And so
thanks a lot.
Yeah.
Appreciate it, guys.
All right, I'm going to go ahead and stop the recording, and we'll call it